Do you ever wonder how some companies can scale 100x, 200x? They can scale rapidly, but some other companies struggle with minimal growth. What is the key to scaling and growth? In this video, I'm going to share with you how I develop leadership teams. Leadership teams are the key to sustainable long-term growth. And I'm going to share with you how I've built leadership teams at my own companies, but also 15 other companies over the last 3 years. There's a proven strategy to build high-performing leadership teams. My name is Skylar Lewis, and this is the Christian Business Mentorship Podcast. All right, so let's dive in. So first off, why do you want a leadership team? And what is a leadership team? So a leadership team is your inner circle. It's the small group of people that you have decided to run the company alongside you. They're the group of people that you will trust with key decisions. They're the group of people that you will allow to run with specific aspects in divisions and departments within your organization. And so they're key to not having the complete burden be on you as the CEO. So Jesus, when he went out, right, he could have spread the word himself. Yet, he chose to build a leadership team. He chose to get 12 disciples that would be the people that would spread the word. And so he built an inner circle of people to help move the message out, to help execute on the vision that he had. And so the way to successfully grow a company is through having this inner circle, this leadership team. And so why would you want a leadership team? Couple reasons. One is the burden. It removes the burden where it's not only on your shoulders now, you've actually successfully been able to hand it off to your team. And it also creates more ownership for your team members. When your team members are now on this leadership team, they're going to have more ownership over the role that you have given them. You're going to make better decisions. Now, all decisions that come through the company, they're not going to be on your shoulders. You're not going to be the primary person. You're going to allow the team to make better decisions, right? We all know where two or more are gathered, there is Jesus. Where Jesus is, there's better decisions. So the more people you have on that leadership team, besides yourself, and there's a limit to that, right? We want to shoot for about 3 to 8 people, but these 3 to 8 minds, you will make better decisions and have more wisdom in decision-making with a properly structured leadership team. And then more alignment, right? So as you set the vision, as you go execute, this team, this leadership team is going to go take that information down through all of the ranks, down through every team member within the organization. So you don't have to be the person that's sharing the vision or the goals or the strategy with each individual person. You then have your leaders go share that vision. When I first started Superior Restoration, we grew it pretty quick. We grew it up to about 3 million. And as we grew the company, I had about 15 employees and all the decisions ran through me. I remember the stress. It was a very stressful time. And it got so bad where I actually decided to hire a coach to help me sell the business. So I brought this coach on, hired him. I said, hey, help me systemize the business so that I can sell it. I want to sell the business, but I want to get a maximum return on it. And so he came in and he helped me design my first leadership team. And we picked a couple of the key team members that were managers or leaders in the organization. We brought them into a weekly meeting. We gave them specific roles. We shared the vision with them. And then we allowed them to start being involved in making decisions for the company. And within 6 months, the organization completely turned around to the point where I did not want to sell it anymore. And so there's a proven way to build leadership teams, and we're going to dive into that right now. So I'm going to share my screen right here. If you're only on the audio version, you could look up the YouTube version of this video, but I'll also be sharing each of the bullet points. So I call this the 5 steps to developing a high-performance leadership team. Number 1, choose the right team. So there's a couple aspects of choosing the right team. One is choosing company-minded people. So what does that mean? It means where you have company-minded people on your team, people that truly care about the performance, the results, that they want to see the company win, and they're not only in it for themselves, right? There's some people that you may bring into your company where primarily they're in it for themselves. And then there's some people that you bring into your organization where they really want to see the business win. And so they're willing to do what it takes to see the business win and succeed. You want those people on your team. You don't want the people on your leadership team or your inner circle that are primarily in it for themselves, right? So the goal, what makes a great organization is where the company is focused on the team and where the team is focused on the company. That's what makes an incredible win-win. Same thing in marriage, right? In marriage, when you're focused on providing for your spouse and giving her everything she needs, and sometimes putting what you want behind you and focusing on her needs, but then she's focusing on your needs, that is what creates an incredible marriage. Same thing in a great inner circle, in a great leadership team. So finding company-minded team members, bringing them into the inner circle, bringing on people that are managers or leaders, right? So you don't want a team member, ideally, that isn't managing anybody on this specific team. So the goal of this team is to create a team of division heads, of leaders within your organization. But for them to be a leader, right, they need to be leading somebody. So we want leaders ideally on the leadership team. And so initially we had a guy that wasn't managing anybody, and so we brought him on the leadership team, but our intention was that he eventually became a manager within the organization. So the third point is of choosing the right team is choosing high performers. You want a high performer inside the team. So you don't want the average performer. You don't want a C player. Ideally, you want an A or a B plus player, because these are the people that all of your other team are going to be looking up to. These are the examples to the entire organization, right? These are the people that are going to be mentoring the people below. And so you really want these to be the highest caliber people inside your organization. And you may realize as you're building your leadership team that you don't have high enough caliber people to build this specific team. And so you may have a couple people you want to be internally promoted into this leadership team, and you may need to bring a couple people from the outside. But just make sure that they are high producers, high performers, highly motivated, and are just effective overall in the results that they produce. All right, let's go to point number 2. And point number 2 is develop clearly defined roles. So once you get those team members, you can switch these points, but once you get those team members, right, having them operate within a clearly defined role. So you want to make sure that you create a scorecard. What is a scorecard? A scorecard is a set of objectives that team member knows that they are specifically responsible for. Like, what are they responsible for? So within the leadership team. So if I were to go to your team members right now and say, hey, what are your 3 objectives specifically that you're responsible for this year? Would they be able to tell me? Or would they say, hey, I'm responsible for driving sales? Like, okay, well, what specifically? How much sales? And by when? Right? So we want clearly defined roles, which also have clearly defined objectives inside those roles. That's what makes a high-performing person overall, but especially in your leadership team. And so we want them to know exactly what they're working on. And so maybe they're a division manager for the sales department, or maybe they're managing finance, or they are managing operations. We want those roles clearly defined so everyone's not doing they're not crossing over into each other's lanes on this team. Number 3 is setting an inspiring vision. This is so underrated. Initially, I did a poor job of that. I thought, you know what? People should just be happy that they get to work for a good company. Why would I have to share the vision of where I'm going? That's kind of my own personal vision. No. So the deal is, you have a lot of people right now, most likely in your company, they're on the bus, and they don't know where they're going. So they're on the bus is driving, right? They have a seat on the bus, but they have no clue where the bus is actually going. Like, where are you taking them? And so having a clear and inspiring vision company-wide is very important. So locking that vision in, hey, where is the company going? So the leadership team knows where they're taking everybody that's on their teams. But then also, what's the vision for the leadership team? So what is the vision for the leadership team? Why are they even on that team? And so you want to be clear, why did you bring them onto the team? And so when I'm recruiting people for a leadership team, this is typically what I'll share is I'll say, hey, so we're looking to build a inner circle. We're looking to build a leadership team, and we want our highest performers, and we want this team to be involved in helping to run the company. So myself, or if I'm working with a CEO, right? The CEO desires to not have to be in all the day-to-day decisions. He believes in his team enough that he wants to start to give them responsibility where they can take ownership over the company. They can really start to have ownership over their role. And so what we do is we make sure we transfer that responsibility. We're looking to give that responsibility back to the team instead of it being on the CEO's shoulders, so that they can really run the company. So the vision that I set for leadership teams is you are now running the company. I hope you're enjoying this video. I'm the founder of Rise Up Kings, the largest faith-based personal development organization in the country. And it's our mission to reach as many people as possible to help them live lives of excellence, all to glorify God. We do this through our content that you're watching now. We do this through our seminars. So if you're enjoying this, please subscribe and share. Let's get back to the video. If you're on the leadership team, you are now responsible for the results of the company. It's no longer the CEO, right? He has some responsibility, but it is on the leadership team. So that's the vision for the leadership team. It's an inspiring vision. It's something that they can live up to. Number 4. Create annual and quarterly objectives. Really important. So if you have a leadership team, you want to make sure that you give clear objectives for the year on what that department or what that leadership team is responsible for executing on. I feel like a lot of teams miss this mark. I've worked for companies that coach companies that were doing $30 million, but the team had no specific annual goals like that were communicated. So the team didn't know what the annual goals were. Whether you're $1 million company or a $50 million company or 100, your team needs to know what the annual goals are. So as a CEO, it's your responsibility to get clear on what those annual goals are. So what are they working on? How do they know if they won this year? How do they know if they won? And so I typically set 1 to 5 annual goals for the company. And the leadership's team's job is to execute on those, usually 3 to 5 goals. So one's a little that's not enough. So we want 3 specific goals. And one of those goals is always a revenue and a profit goal if you end up sharing that with your team. If you don't, make it, a job count or a production base, some goal that really represents growth in revenue, and some efficiency metric which represents profitability. So you want to have 3 to 5 goals that leadership team is executing on. And then you want to reverse engineer those goals to quarterly objectives. Every quarter, this leadership team is meeting, and they're meeting weekly. I'll explain that in a minute. But they're meeting every quarter. They have a strategy session where they're reviewing how they did on the quarterly objectives or quarterly goals. And so let's say your quarterly goal is to generate, to bring on 10 new clients as a company. Great. You want to meet with that team, and I'll do a whole video on how to properly run a quarterly strategy session. But you want to meet with that team and say, hey, how did we do executing on those 10 clients? And you want to rate, you want to see what worked, what didn't work, course correct. And then you want to set a new objective for the next quarter. And so you do this quarter by quarter. It's a quarterly and an annual rhythm. Number 5 is utilizing a weekly meeting cadence. So every week you should be meeting with your leadership team. And this meeting can be an hour to 2 hours long, typically an hour to 90 minutes. And so you want to meet with this leadership team every week to track the performance to track their performance and to track the company's progress towards those quarterly and annual goals. So every week you're checking in. Each team member will be checking in on how they're doing on that specific quarterly goal and any progress that they've made. That's a big part of the weekly leadership meeting. Again, I'll do another video on how to structure a very effective weekly leadership meeting. But here are the basics. You guys are reviewing the goals, and then you're reviewing your metrics. I recommend having a metrics kind of scoreboard where you track the most important numbers in the company. And every week you're meeting to review those specific numbers. And so you have your goals that you're reviewing, you have your metrics that you're reviewing, And then we have a working, not working spreadsheet where we review what is working or what's not working in the organization. And then that leadership team is solving the problems of the organization. So let's say marketing isn't working, right? Not driving the right amount of leads. So that leadership team is now meeting to figure out how to ramp up marketing. And so you might have 5 people that are putting their heads together to figure out how to produce more results in marketing, right? Versus you just figuring out how to produce more results. You now have a team of people that genuinely care for the company and want to see it succeed, that are figuring out how to be more effective at marketing. Or maybe it is how to acquire some additional talent. Or maybe the problem or the not working may be that your cash flow is down. And so your team now gets together. I call this a self-healing organization, where the organization starts to heal itself. You're not the only one healing the organization. The organization sees the problems through their missing their goals or through metrics that they're not hitting or through this sheet of not working. They see the problems and then they work together to solve the problems every single week for the entire year. So there should be about 52 minus Christmas. Maybe you're doing 50 meetings a year where you're solving problems and improving the organization. That is what makes a very strong, solid, sustainable business that can scale rapidly and solve problems quickly. So that is the 5-step structure that I take that I've taken many coaching clients, right? And I teach this with hundreds of other entrepreneurs that are in our coaching group. This is what we teach them on how to set up the specific leadership team and how to run leadership meetings. Now, there's a couple pointers I'm going to end with. Number 1 is do not be late to your own meetings, right? You want to set a good example for the team. So show up on time to the best of your ability, right? I mess up on this every now and then, but I do my best to show up on time. Another one is end on time. Be respectful of your team's time, right? When you just think that you can run the meeting as long as you want, you're showing that you kind of have you're not being respectful of your team's time because they have other things that they need to do. So by running late in a meeting, you're showing a lack of respect for their time. The next one is have hard discussions. So it's really important that this meeting, you're having hard talks. You're bringing up very difficult conversations. You're talking about people inside the organization that are not working. This is your team where you get to have all the hard conversations. You get to talk about the worst part of the business, the warts, the pimples, the ugly parts, and then you solve them as a team. So having these hard discussions and also having hard discussions by maybe you have to call out another person on the team where they're not performing. Right? So being able to have these difficult conversations is really critical to a healthy leadership team. Unhealthy leadership team is a team that avoids the hard conversations. Healthy leadership teams, they dig into the hard stuff. They're regularly engaging in conflict, healthy conflict, so they can make the company better. And the next one is reward the team. So this leadership team, right, they're going to be working longer hours than typically a lot of your other team members. They're putting in the work. They're caring about the business usually more than the other team members. So they're all in. And so due to that, like we're going to set some big goals with this leadership team, but we also want to have some rewards. Like what do they get to do? Maybe it's a little weekend getaway at the end of the year if they hit their objectives. Maybe it is you go do something special with them. Whatever it may be, find some type of reward. Some benefit, some bonus that you could do specifically with the leadership team because, man, this is your inner circle. They're all in with you. And if there's extra results that are produced, if the company's performing, man, go reward them for helping to get the company there. Because it's no longer on your shoulders as an owner or a CEO. It's now on the shoulders of your leadership team. And so we want to take care of our leadership team, take care of your whole team, but specifically like these guys, they typically will be putting in more work than most team members. So find some fun reward that you could go do, some trip you could go do with them that would make the hard work much more fun when they get to enjoy some little mini vacation or something like that. So those are some pointers to kind of build, and there's a lot more tied to this. However, just that information can help you create a leadership team, but also refine the current leadership team that you have. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and share it with some friends. I built this specific video so you can share it with your team members so they can understand the purpose of a leadership team, why to build one, how to build one, and how to be successful with this specific leadership team. So this is a video that is worthy of sharing with your team. And if you want more information or another video on how to be an effective leader, right, leading with a servant heart, I did a video on that. It should be linked to this video if you're on YouTube. And I want you to remember this: leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of the people that you've put in charge.